All right, everybody. Let's talk about something that I think we can all relate to, and that is office politics. Which, honestly, when you hear that term, it can be a little intimidating.
Right.
A little bit like, oh gosh, am I going to have to frame somebody for stealing my stapler?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm cut out for this.
Right.
But, there are ways to be strategic. There are ways to get ahead. And we're going to talk all about that.
Absolutely.
Because today we're doing a deep dive on really understanding the company structure you're in
Okay.
and using it kind of to your advantage in a way.
Yeah.
And we are working from some professional development tips that we have.
Awesome.
So this is really good stuff. So let's just get right into it.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing is to really think of your company structure as a treasure map
Okay.
and, kind of figure out where everything is, where does the power lie,
Absolutely.
where are the potential pitfalls,
Yeah, it's like in the pirate movies, right? You want to find the X that marks the spot, but
right, but you got to watch out for the booby traps.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You got to avoid those.
And you know what? Understanding the company structure is kind of like that. It tells you who the decision makers are.
Right.
It helps you anticipate any roadblocks. It can even reveal potential allies within the company.
Oh, for sure.
Like, for example, let's say you have this fantastic idea for a new project,
Okay.
but you pitch it to someone who has, zero authority over the budget. You're not going to get very far.
Right, right.
You need to know who controls the purse strings.
Right. You got to go to the right person, for sure.
Exactly.
And it's not always obvious, just because someone has a certain title
Exactly.
doesn't mean that they actually have the power to do the thing.
100%.
So it's good to know.
You got to do your homework.
Yeah,
You got to study that treasure map
Yeah.
and know where you're going
for sure.
before you start digging.
So, okay, you've looked at the map. You kind of get a sense of who you can talk to.
Right.
The next thing is this whole thing of respecting the chain of command. And I will admit, when I first read that, I was like, ugh, come on. That sounds so corporate.
It does sound a little bit like by the books, right?
Yes, exactly. But,
But it's important, and I'll tell you why.
okay.
Imagine a well-run kitchen, right? Like in a restaurant during the dinner rush.
Right.
Everyone has their station.
Right.
They have their orders, and they know their role in getting that, amazing meal to your table.
Right.
It's a system.
Right.
And it works because everyone respects the process.
That's a really good point. It's true.
Yeah.
If you just, went rogue in a kitchen, I mean, that's
Chaos. Absolute chaos.
disaster. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So respecting the chain of command is not just about, blindly following orders.
No, not at all.
It's about understanding the process.
It's about, remember that treasure map we talked about?
Right.
It's about using that knowledge to your advantage.
Okay.
Right, knowing who to approach for what,
Right.
who needs to be looped in on certain decisions, how to make sure that your ideas are heard by the right people at the right time.
Okay. So it's like using the map to find the shortcut, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about working smarter, not harder.
I like that. I like that.
Right.
So we're not just robots following the rules.
Exactly.
We're strategically using our knowledge
Precisely.
to get ahead.
I love it.
Okay, so we're using the map. We're understanding the chain of command.
Yes.
And this next one is something that I think a lot of people struggle with, and that is building relationships at work.
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like so much of the time it's okay, you need to network,
Right.
but also don't be, that person
Right, yeah.
who's the kiss up.
Yeah, you don't want to be inauthentic.
Yeah, exactly. So where's the line?
Right. It's a fine line, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's important, and it really comes down to just being genuine, I think.
Right.
You want to build relationships across all levels.
Okay.
Right. So that means with your peers, with your higher ups, and everybody in between.
So it's not just about sucking up to the boss.
Yeah, not at all.
It's about making genuine connection.
Exactly. Because you know what? You spend a lot of time at work.
Right.
You might as well have some friends.
Right. That's true.
And, you never know who might be helpful to you down the line.
Right. Exactly. And I think sometimes people forget that
Yeah.
it's not always just about getting ahead.
Right.
It's also about, enjoying your work environment and the people that you're with.
Absolutely.
So, okay. So how do you build those relationships authentically?
So look for opportunities to collaborate on projects.
Okay.
Maybe cross-departmental projects. That's always a good one.
That's a good idea.
Maybe you're interested in mentorship, either as a mentee or as a mentor yourself.
Right.
Participate in company events, those social gatherings.
Oh, those are good.
Yeah, those are great because it's outside of the office.
Right.
It's a little bit more relaxed. You
Okay.
can get to know people on a personal level.
And sometimes you see a side of people you never knew
Absolute
at
right.
work, and you're like, oh, I actually really like this person.
Exactly.
Which I think kind of naturally leads into the next point, which is that communication is a two-way street.
Absolutely.
It's not just about, getting your point across.
Right.
You have to listen to what other people are saying. You have to be open to other perspectives.
Yes, 100%. And, something that I've learned over the years is that a decision that might seem completely illogical from your point of view
Right.
might make perfect sense from your manager's perspective or someone else's perspective.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So you got to kind of try to see things from their shoes a little bit.
Yeah. Because I think sometimes, especially when you're like heads down working on something
Yeah,
and it's hard to see the bigger picture
it is.
when you're just in it.
Yeah. So taking that step back and listening to what others have to say
Right.
can be so valuable.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's something that sometimes you have to learn the hard way.
You do.
Like I know I've definitely made the mistake of going over my manager's head with an idea
Yeah.
because I was like, oh, this is brilliant. Why hasn't this happened?
Right.
And then you realize like, oh, there were all these other things at play.
Yeah, there's always more to it. Right.
Always more to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've gotten through the map, chain of command, building relationships, communication.
Okay.
And I think this last one is, it's kind of inevitable at some point.
Yeah.
Even if you're doing all these things right,
Right.
you might still encounter conflict in the workplace
100%.
because,
It's just part of life.
it's just part of life.
It's going to happen.
So what do you do when that happens?
So when those tricky situations come up, and they will,
Mm-hmm.
diplomacy is key. Right. It's your superpower.
Okay.
It's about approaching conflict professionally, always,
Okay.
with a focus on shared goals. Right.
Okay.
And remember, listen more than you speak.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, because you can learn a lot more by listening than you can by talking.
It's true. It's true.
And here's a pro tip.
Okay.
Document everything.
Oh, that's a really good point.
Yeah, so if you have a conversation with somebody,
Right.
jot down some notes.
Oh, I like that.
Right, just so you remember what was said.
Yeah, because otherwise it can become a he said, she said.
Exactly, and that helps nobody.
Right. Nobody wins in that
Right,
situation.
no, it just makes it worse.
Yeah. Okay. So document, document, document.
Yes, exactly.
I like that tip.
Always a good idea.
Okay. So we covered a lot of good stuff. Let's recap quickly because I know we're running out of time.
Okay.
But basically, we talked about using that treasure map of your company structure
Yes.
to your advantage.
Yes.
We talked about respecting the chain of command, but using it strategically. Building relationships, which we've decided is a good thing.
Yes, definitely a good thing.
Two-way communication
Absolutely.
and diplomacy as your superpower
It really is.
when it comes to navigating office politics.
Yes. And you know what the best part about all of this
With that.
is that these aren't just tips for, like, climbing the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
These are valuable skills to have in any work environment.
That's true. That is true.
So whether you're leading a team or
Right.
you're just starting out your career,
Right.
this stuff is going to be helpful.
That's a really good point.
Yeah,
Yeah, no matter where you are in your career journey,
exactly.
this is all helpful stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, any last words of wisdom before we wrap up?
As you're navigating your career, think about how you can use these skills to advocate for yourself.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
think about your goals
Yeah.
and how you can use this knowledge to get there.
Yeah, that's great advice. Okay, so go forth and advocate for yourselves, everybody.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Shots